Okay, in this video, we're going to see how to do the activity make your own. So in the create your own activity, you're making your own buttons. So on our microbit, we have an A and B buttons, and the way those work is that underneath these buttons, there's a piece of metal that connects with another piece of metal underneath that. And when the button is not pressed, those pieces of metal are separated. So if we take like these two pieces of foil, demonstrate, we have the piece of foil are not touching. When we press the button, they physically touch together. And that completes a circuit which allows electricity to pass through, which then activates your character, makes them jump or do something, whatever that button is assigned to do. So instead of maybe using these buttons here on our microbit, we might want a button that is separate from the microbit. And instead of spending any money really to make a switch, we could just use the alligator clips that we have. We can use our microbit and some piece of foil. And if we wanted to get fancy, we could make a true button that has a spring mechanism and those sorts of things to make it actually open and close like a real button would, like on a controller, but we're not going to do all that for this activity. So we'll need a couple pieces of foil. We'll need actually 3 pieces of foil and 3 alligator clips in our microbit and your USB cable. So first thing you'll need to do is connect our alligator clips using 3 different color alligator clips to the microbit. So I used green, blue, and black. So I connected my green alligator clip to pin 0, blue alligator clip to pin 1, and then I have a alligator clip connected to the ground pin. So the other end I'll need to attach my foil onto, and so these are just the pads that we'll use to touch each other when we have the code running. So those will touch each other, one another, to act like a button. Okay, so once we have those all connected, then we're going to go into our code. So we'll need to open that up, and for our code, we're going to be utilizing these blocks of code that we see on the screen here. So we'll need a forever, we'll need a couple show icons, we'll need 2 pin pressed because we have 2 of the alligator clips connected to pin 0 and 1. We'll need this if then block, and we'll need to make it into if and else if and then else block. On the microbit site, you can just click the plus and minus buttons and it will change the way that block looks. So we'll need one of those. So I'm going to actually duplicate these since we'll need 3 of these show icons, because what we want to do is we want to make it so that when we're pressing one of the pins, one of the buttons, because we'll have 2 buttons, it'll show different icons, and then if we're not pressing any of the buttons, it'll show something. And we'll need 2 of these since we have 2 pin pressed. So I'm going to put the pin pressed, let's get that to go inside those spots on the if then block, and we'll put this whole thing inside the forever. And then I want it to show different icons if I press different things, and if not, have it show something else. So we have here, it's going to check those pins to make sure that if they're being pressed to do something or not, to show this icon down here. I'll change that. So if pin 0 is pressed, then I'll have it show icon, I'll have it show a check. If the pin 1 is pressed, then show icon, I'll do an X. Or else if neither are being pressed, then I'll have it show I'll do the checkerboard here. Okay, so once I have that set up, then I'll need to load that onto the microbit and we'll see it run. So I'm going to connect the microbit in. Okay, so we'll connect the microbit in, and I'll need to download the code. So I'll need to save that and put that on the microbit. Okay, so once it's done loading, then we should see the checkerboard come up, which it is. It might be kind of hard to see in the video, but we do have a checkerboard on our screen. So, okay, and then we'll need to take the pad that's connected to the ground pin, and we're going to connect that and touch that with the pad that's on pin 0. Okay, and when I connect that, I get the check mark. Kind of hard to see, but there's a check mark, and then I'll do my pin 1, and then that will activate the X. Now when I'm doing this, to make sure that everything works, I'm not touching the wire or any metal myself with my hands. I'm allowing that metal just to touch itself, because if I connect my hands to this, so I got these separated, so okay, it'll actually send that current through my body, and it'll act like I'm pressing those two pads together when really I'm not. So so I want to make sure I'm not touching that with my hands. I want to make sure I have my hands on the insulated part of the wire. So that's the create your own, making your own simple switch. Again, we can make it a little more fancy if we cut these out of nice little circles and add a little top to it, put a spring in, and did all the things that a real switch would have. But it works if we need it to be something real simple and easy to make. So there you go.